Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
For a really great future. We're talking real money.
This is the show devoted to your dough. We are here to talk about money and help you make sense of it all. We're going to try and get the questions that you have answered. We're going to share our insights. We're going to try and get you on track toward a better future, where in which you are better educated, you pay less, and hopefully end up with more money in the process. Our number is 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255. I'm Don McDonald. Tom Cox over there.
Yeah, I mean, this is great to have you back on the radio. I mean, you were gone. You were kind of on last week, but I mean, it was kind of a unique circumstances. It's actually the first time you've been on in like a month, and so much has changed.
A month.
This is, I mean, the stock markets have made people money, right? I've gained another 3 or 4 pounds in this period of time, struggling to carry this show on my own back while you were doing whatever, finding yourself in New Zealand or whatever it was. So thank you for being back and for being part of this show. We missed you.
Oh, thanks. You know, this has nothing to do with money, but it's in Bloomberg, and I just saw it, so I wanted to talk about it because I don't get it. Yeah, I'm going to go to that in a second. Just real quick.
Yeah.
There's an article by Barry Ritholtz. It's entitled "A Tweet Storm That Every Investor Should Read." I don't care what it is. But these weird pictures that they pick to go with the articles that don't seem to make any sense.
They do that a lot, by the way.
There's a picture of Fatty Arbuckle out of an old silent movie.
Yeah.
In a classroom with a dunce cap on, and on the chalkboard it says, "To hell with the Kaiser."
So that was like an anti-World War I thing or something? I mean, I know you spent a lot of Saturday afternoon matinees watching the lips of Fatty Arbuckle, but still. I mean, come on.
So, I don't understand the connection between this and the article. I don't. Anyway, 855-935-TALK is our phone number. That was just totally random, but it occurred to me.
Really?
No, yeah. I'm a big believer in random. All right, we started last hour talking to Bob. We had a terrible connection.
Ended last hour talking to Bob. We're going to start this hour.
We're starting this hour talking to Bob.
Let's go to Bob.
And as he says, it's been a long time since I've been on the radio. Hi, Bob. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Bob. How can we help?
Well, hey, gentlemen, can you hear me any better
We
now?
hear you just great this time.
All right, perfect. So I started... I've done 401ks and things of that nature all my life, but I just kind of got really kind of heavy into, the investment game about 2009 through an incident that occurred in our life. We had a sum of money that we had to do some stuff with. One portion of that was we have a special needs trust for my son. And then the second portion of that is an investment portfolio on our side, which for a period of time I was getting no fees on our investments. It wasn't actively managed. It was more of a sit and hold type of buy and hold type of portfolio with a lot of municipal bonds. We've since changed that, and that was with UBS. And we've since
and UBS did that just because they're nice people. They really appreciated your business.
Well, they were making a lot of money off of my son's portfolio. So you can say that.
The one portfolio was paying for the other one in a way.
in a way. But
okay, but
we'll talk about the truth about that in a minute.
Yeah, we kind of got some bad news for you. But go ahead.
At any rate,
what's the question?
So I've since changed and went to a different bank, and I'm paying now. And now I've since questioned maybe, the amount of money that I'm paying compared to what my returns have been. And I know that we've had a little bit of a difference this year, but last year we were 80-20, 80 fixed and 20 in equities, and it's an actively managed account, and we turned about a 7.5% return. What would you say on something like that?
Well, we're going to look at that because when we had to come back from a break to finish the answer. The bad news is you were paying before, you just didn't know.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But
hang on, I'll
here's
get the number
thing.
for you. Go ahead.
The 7.5%. We need to learn a little bit more about the portfolio. Also, do you know what you were paying for this advice?
Yeah, no, I hear you. So I'm not in a spot where I can actually kind of go through my portfolio with you, but that would be something that I would want to maybe continue kind of looking into maybe offline.
What did you pay in fees? How much did you remember approximately?
He's saying he doesn't know that.
Don't remember that? Okay.
What our percent is?
Yeah.
I can't tell you offhand, but I know approximately is about maybe 0.75%.
That's not bad. Okay. Tell you what, we're going to come back and get to your question, but first we have to take care of some other things, so stay with us, Bob. 855-935-TALK is our number. If you'd like to get some problems solved, give us a call.
Don and Don are talking real money.
All right, let's get this break out of the way really quickly. If you're looking for an investment advisor, you need a fee-only, 100% fiduciary, low-cost, science-based advisor. And that describes Vestory. If you'd like to learn more about us, it's really easy. Go to Vestory.com, Vestory.com, or give us a call at 800-386-3004, 800-386-3004. There, that wasn't so bad.
For your real life and real future, Tom and Don are talking real money.
Our number again is 855-935-8255, 855-935-TALK. TALK. We're talking with Bob right now. Bob has a portfolio that used to be in a lot of municipal bonds. It's now with an active portfolio manager. 20-80 portfolio, 20% 20% in equities, 80% in bonds. He says it's made about 7.5% over the last year. And Bob, that's a good return. What's your question?
That was 2017, right?
2017, yeah.
Okay. So 2017, that split was 80-20. And we did about 7.5%. That would have been the question. Was that a? I mean, without knowing that's all in our portfolio, would you have found that to be a pretty average or above average?
No, that would be above average return. By the way, if I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me that, I would have retired 20 years ago. Because it's here's what the academics. Number one, number two, the academics are going to tell you that is random. I mean, like Don's quote last week or last hour about Fatty Arbuckle. It's just hard to put in anywhere because 1 year is just not enough time. If you really wanted to analyze something like that, you'd have to look at what the portfolio holds, how much risk you're taking, because if you're holding a limited number of individual equities in that, then you need to make more, because if you just own an index portfolio, by the way, I looked, you would have been about 4% gain in that same period of time. But that's in a portfolio that holds 12,500 stocks. So there's a trade-off there. So it's hard for us to just give you just sort of, I mean, here's what I tell people, by the way, when they come and ask about this. I tell them, you have to decide, every person listening have to decide, either you believe that there's somebody at a bank or in a mutual fund that can pick the best stocks, pick the ones that are going to go up faster than consistently. Thank you. We can't find that person. Our bias is to index it because all the research shows that has been, and we tried to show you again the last hour, how many of these major pension funds have gotten killed by thinking they could do something and be special. So we have decided, and did a long time ago, that we'd rather own index funds, pay lower fees, and it appears you have made more. That's been our decision. That should be your decision before that. But I want to make sure we finish the conversation by talking to you about the free portfolio management you got using individual municipal bonds. Don?
Well, yeah. In fact, we're going to get into this a little more later, but we're just basically that they say they give you municipal bond portfolios for free because they're playing a spread, and there are some new SEC rules coming into effect very soon that will require the brokerage industry to show you exactly what they get.
How
in
much
spreads.
are they really making when they sell you a municipal bond?
Well, the spreads can be as high as 3%.
Yeah, right. I mean, so that isn't free. People think it's, they find a way to make a living there.
A lot of living.
Unquestionable.
A good living.
So that's a good question, Bob. I mean, and
Thanks.
so it's a great, this is always the question, though. How does that compare to another portfolio in 1 year?
Let me just throw one other thing in. Let's assume for a minute you picked whatever the hottest stock was last year.
Yeah,
let's say your 20% was all in Amazon,
right.
and
great year.
Microsoft.
You would have. Yeah.
You could have made 20% on your 2080 portfolio if you were in the right place. And in other words, if you got lucky, but you also could have won the lottery if you got lucky.
Random.
855-935-TALK is our phone number, 855-935-8255. Lee, you're next. Welcome to Talking Real Money.
Hey, Lee, how can we help?
Good afternoon.
Hey.
Hey, I'm a state worker here, and I'm getting ready to retire. And I have an option to purchase more service credits, which is basically kind of like an annuity, I know, and that's but it would cost me to gain $500 a month, about $100,000, and I could transfer that out of my deferred comp, so it would be no tax basis and there's no fees, and also then it would be and there's a COLA tied to that. What do you guys think of that?
Well, are you a person that, I mean, this turns out, by the way, this is fascinating to me, because if you took the money and invested it instead, it turns out generally you end up with more money. Generally.
Well, let me give you an example. Let's just say you invested that money in something, in a portfolio that was relatively well balanced, that returned on average 5% per year, stocks and bonds, and you just took 5% out every year. You'd pull out every month for the rest of your life about $400.
Yeah,
Actually, it would rise as the value of the portfolio rose. But you'd pull out about $400 a month and keep the $100,000. Or you can give them the $100,000. They'll give you the $400 a month plus a little tiny bit of your principal back every month.
Yeah, I mean, so this is, because we just talked about this at Retire Meet last week. Most of the time, this is an emotional, knowing yourself. Would you rather hand the money to somebody else, get a regular check back, or would you rather take control of that money yourself, know there's some risk there, and get a variable return and a variable amount of income off of it? That's the decision.
Right, so it's just a comfort zone, basically, but
in most time,
a 5% return, right?
No, that is not really a 5% return. That is far lower than a 5% return, because remember, they've calculated life expectancies and they're giving you back a portion of your money.
Own money, yeah. So that's not 5%.
So $500 a month on 100,000, you can't just equate that as a 5%.
No, because you've given away $100,000. I mean, let's think about it this way. If you put the $100,000 in a mattress, okay, and you took out $500 every month, that would last you, let's see,
17 years or something.
That would last you 17 years.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, 100,000.
That's with a zero return.
Right. But
how old are you?
It does have a COLA, so you get a COLA with it every year, so that would add to it.
I'd look at that carefully, too, around what that's tied to, because that's the other part.
But even with that COLA, it's still not a 5% plus inflation return, because your principal is gone. And it is that they want to make it sound that easy, but it's not that easy. As a matter of fact,
over the last 20 years, the COLA has been about an average of 2.2% a year, and it just goes right into my retirement check and added onto that.
Yeah, which is great. A COLA is wonderful. An inflation kicker is great. But if you invest the money, you will get some inflation kickers in a properly built portfolio.
If you take some risk.
But you have to take some risk.
Yep, that's
but
right.
you keep your $100,000 and even add to that the potential for growth, because historically, a well-balanced portfolio, it's made better than 5% a year. We don't know that it will in the future. We have no idea.
Yep.
Yeah. So if I want to feel just, not worry about it, then do
That's
it. If not, if you want to roll the dice a little bit, you leave it in some kind of a fund.
It's not really rolling the dice, but it is accepting the market's volatility. If you build the right portfolio, rolling the dice implies you could lose everything. And there is no scenario I can imagine with a well-diversified, globally diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds.
Things don't go well at the summit in Korea. Then
they can't go to, they could go to zero if we're nuked.
That's true.
But you won't care then. You just won't care.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
If you need help allocating your retirement plan at work, you can get free help at 401-411.com. That's 401-411.com.
Your guides to a really great financial future. Tom and Don are talking real money.
855-935-TALK. That's our number, 855-935-TALK. 8255 is how you push numbers for talk. And life, when it comes to everything, but particularly investing, life is a series of trade-offs. In Lee's case, it's, do you want the absolute safety for what appears to be a 5% return, but isn't? It's probably more like a 2 to 3% return. I'd have to run the numbers, but pretty darn close to that. If you could get a 5% return absolutely safely, you'd take it.
Absolutely. Because that's
not the
very
case.
hard. Yeah, I don't. Well, maybe if we get time later this hour, we'll talk about the absolute safe short-term 8% investment with the. I love that headline: sketchy brokers bilked seniors and a cosmetologist. That's all you need to know about a lousy investment. But yes, it is a trade-off.
Oh, that was in the Villages.
Yeah, the 8%.
In Florida.
Yeah, easy 8%. Yeah, it's 8%. It's short term. This is always, but this is the part. So, because people regularly ask me, well, I made 8% last year. Is that good? We don't know. We have no idea. Did you make 8% a year for the last 30 years? How much risk did you take to make that? This is the part of investing that most of us just don't understand. I made a lot of money. Okay, that's great. And we're happy for you, by the way.
That's why we work really hard to build portfolios in which it becomes easier to measure the risk, because when you're really well diversified, this word risk that we associate with total loss changes into something far more palatable and measurable, a thing called volatility, which is the amount of bouncing that goes on in the portfolio, and that you can measure and you can really judge. So you need to build a portfolio where you've eliminated the risk of losing everything, and you now have just the risk of bouncing.
Individual equities, giving up custody of your money. There's things where you could lose all of it.
Yeah, you could.
It's not the way to go.
855-935-TALK is our number. We have another Bob waiting on the line.
Hey,
Bob, welcome to the Talking Real Money.
It's the Bob and Tom show today. We'll throw Don in if we get time. How you doing, Bob?
Good. Hey, just a comment. I appreciate what you guys are talking about. That is something that a lot of people didn't used to talk about a lot, is that whole risk measurement deal. And I think the industry is doing a better job of getting that knowledge from the investor up front, how comfortable they are with risk. I think that's really a good thing for them to do. That being said, that last caller, correct me if I'm wrong, but he could have actually just taken $100,000 and invested in CD rates have gone up a bit lately, and you can get a 3.02 APY CD.
How long?
For 3%. 3%, 60 months.
5 years?
That's about right.
Yeah, okay, that sounds right. Yeah,
that's about right.
Yeah.
So the point is, now he's not going to get $500 a month on that, but he's going to get $250 for almost half that much of the same money, and he's not going to get rid of his principal. And as far as risk goes, you can't get a whole lot safer than FDIC insured CD, right?
No, you can't. That's
government bonds.
That's pretty much a full faith and credit of the U.S. government. And, with a scenario like that, I'd have to run a distribution table. But the principal, if he took $500 a month, that principal at that point would probably last him for, I don't know, probably about 25 years.
Yeah, something like that.
There you go.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that approach. I mean, what we're trying to say is the trade-off really, for most people, is most people have to have some exposure to stocks, because stocks have given you some increase when you just put it.
It's huge.
Thank you. They not every year, not every 5 years. Well, actually, every 5 years you would have made money. But the point is, most of us have to expose that. If you don't want to do that, then you're right. Give it to the state or an insurance company. They'll give you some of your money back, and you won't have to worry about this on a regular basis. I mean, for some people, that's better, right?
855-935-TALK is the number. Give us a call, 855-935-8255. We're here to help you make more money and enjoy a better life.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
We mentioned 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255 throughout the podcast. But you need to know that you can call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Leave your question, and those will be answered in special Talking Real Money podcasts that will appear on this particular site in the future. So give us a call, 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
And to talk with us about your real money and to get some real answers that are really honest, give us a call at 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255. And as our last Bob alluded, there has been a tendency to talk more about risk in the industry lately. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that there's this push, this movement toward more responsible investment advice, fiduciary investment advice. And to be a fiduciary, you darn well need to know someone's risk tolerance. You better. If you don't, then you can't provide proper advice. And that's why we use a product that we call Risk Quiz, the Vestry Risk Quiz, RISQUIZ, all slammed together because it's kind of cool.
You can go online and do that absolutely free. Yeah.
It is totally free. You won't get called. You don't get called. We don't even ask you for your phone number. And you get your risk quiz that tells you, based on a very scientific approach, the number of universities worked on the
questions that you should get asked. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're good questions. And you'll get a pretty decent overview of how much risk you can take with your portfolio.
You'll be glad
will help
to know
you
that
make better decisions.
I passed, by the way. I did pass.
Everybody passes.
Oh, I was feeling good about myself. Okay.
No, everybody passes.
Disappointing, to say the least. Vestry.com in the upper right-hand corner. V is in Victory, E is in Edward, and then the word story.com, and then risk quiz in the corner. By the way, I'm going to be the skeptic here, taking on an unusual role for me. I'm going to say that the reason I'm going to say the reason that this industry is now talking about risk is that some people still way in the back of their head can still remember like 2008 when the market went and I lost like a third of my money and half of my money. And I think maybe some of those investors told their advisors, hey, I really never want to do that again. Or they took their money out, or they made their advisor sell. Something. And so the industry said, maybe we should help people better understand how all this works. It's not just making money, it's kind of keeping it too. So
yeah. Now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Speaking of 2008, when was the worst week? The worst single week for the S&P 500?
I already know the answer, so I'm not going to give it here. Do you want me to give it here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it was 2008, right?
It was October of 2008.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
October, the worst week in the history of
14% or something?
18.2.
Man, that's
now in the history of the S&P.
That's tough. Yeah.
The S&P 500 is about 60 years old. In the history of the S&P 500, how many weeks has the S&P 500 been down more than 10%?
I know the answer to this too, so I won't give it. But If you want me to.
It's 4.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's all right. You can give it. It's
okay,
4 times.
you told me earlier, so I didn't want to cheat.
4 times. This is 4 times in 60 years.
4 times.
Now, the point I'm trying to make is we're talking about stocks as if they are ridiculously scary and way too risky for most people. Yeah, an 18% loss in a single week is pretty darn scary. And yet in the same conversation with someone, they'll ask you, but should I be in Bitcoin? Or cryptocurrencies?
I knew that's where this was going because it was on billions lately because the price has gone down dramatically again, right? It had another tough week.
Oh, yeah. Now, let's not, with Bitcoin, you can't use 60 years. It's only been around for a few.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say since the beginning of 2018.
That would be like 5 months ago.
4.5 months.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How many times has Bitcoin lost more than 10%
in 1 week?
In 1 week.
Wow.
In the past 4.5 months. Now, in the past 4.5 months, the S&P 500 has never lost 10%.
No.
Over a week. It hasn't done it at all. With Bitcoin, 5 times in less than 5 months. And last week was one of the better ones. From Monday to Friday, Bitcoin lost 12% of its value. But the
12% last week?
Last week.
Wow.
But 1 week in February, Bitcoin lost 31% of its value in a single week. Talk about volatility.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's
like reading a scary book from the 1950s or watching a 1950s really bad horror movie compared to watching a really seriously scary slasher 3D smell-o-vision. I mean, the difference in horror, the humanity, is dramatic. I mean, if you want to be truly scared, then sure, go out and gamble with cryptocurrencies. But if you can't stand the volatility of the stock market, you think you should be in cryptos? You're crazy. 855-935-TALK is the phone number, 855-935-8255. We'll be back momentarily.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
Keeping the podcast breaks as painless as possible is my goal. That's why I want to very quickly tell you about the only magazine I've ever heard of that is 100% real investing all the time. There's no business news, no speculative advice, and certainly no lifestyle stuff. It's called Real Investing Journal. I publish it every quarter, and you can get 2 full years for only $25 at realinvestingjournal.com. That's realinvestingjournal.com.
For your real life and real future, Tom and Don are talking real money.
Only because it's really important. I mean, you're not going to get very far in life without some money, and you're certainly not going to get very far in retirement without having saved and invested a pretty substantial amount. And so if you haven't done it yet, maybe you need to get started. 855-935-TALK is the number. We'll help you do just that and point you in a better direction than you'll be pointed by anybody else in this genre. I know that from listening around.
You've been listening around? You've been cheating on us? Man, that hurts.
I have. I've been listening around the dial, and I don't like what I hear.
I'm not surprised.
I do not like what I hear from the other hosts who sell indexed annuities and timing systems and
the bond alternative,
day trading and
all that stuff.
855-935-TALK. Give us a call. Teresa's next. Welcome to Talking Real Money.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. I am 71 and I'm still working full time, and I waited till I was 70 to take my Social Security. I have no debt. I have a house paid off in West Seattle. My question is, I took your advice to go to Vanguard, the international index fund that you recommended, and I currently have 23% of my portfolio in that fund and the rest in fixed. In another month, I'll be able to get into the 401k of my current employer. And I'm thinking of putting in as much money at least to get what I have to take out on my RMD. So, because I'm having to take that out, which makes me mad. But I don't know. My question is, how risky should I be? I'm a pretty conservative person.
Well, how much growth do you need? How much money do you need to make on the money?
I don't know. I know that the money in the bond funds or whatever it is in Vanguard, I think, is hardly making anything.
Well, no, they actually lost money in the first quarter, but the first 4 months of the year, because as you may know, interest rates have gone up. That has pushed the price of those securities down a bit. But I mean, my question,
well, is that what the fixed one is? I think it's in the bond.
Yeah.
Is that bond fund, I think?
Correct. The bond fund has lost money this year, as most intermediate bond funds have. In fact, I looked at the intermediate bond fund that we use has lost about 2.4% year to date. And I want to make sure I'm understood, because we don't recommend a Vanguard International fund. We recommend a Vanguard Total World Stock Index.
That's what it was. That was a Total World one that I did.
So, I mean, that's relatively conservative to only have less than 25% of your money in a stock fund and the rest in a bond fund. But without knowing what rate of return you need to make on that money, it's hard for me to give you a piece of advice, Don.
The right answer is the portfolio needs to be built for two things. One, we talked about your risk tolerance, but you said that's low. So now the only thing you have to factor in is your risk need. And that requires figuring out what kind of money and this is a planning issue. You need to determine how much you need that portfolio to make. If you only need it to make 2 or 3% a year, then you can drop down to 5 or 10% in equities. You don't need to have as much as you have, but it's all a matter of need. If you need to get 4 or 5% per year, then you need to be where you are right now, probably. Historically, you're in about the right place.
Well, I thought when I'm able to get my 401k started July 1st, that I would do that in more risky things. And I don't think I need to do the RMD on that as long as I'm working for that employer. Am I right?
That's right.
That's correct. I mean, again, here's the way I look at money around all of this. I mean, around risk. I love what Warren Buffett said about a month ago. Warren Buffett said, "Why take risk with money you may need to make money you don't need?"
Right.
That's how I mean, when people ask me, I say, so if you don't need to make more than 3, 4, 5% a year, why would you take the risk to try to do that?
Right. Okay, well, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling, Teresa. Take care.
By the way, it has been. Yeah, go ahead.
935-TALK, our number, 855-935-8255.
And if you can't make it in this hour, you can call that number again next hour. You dial right into Dawn's daughter's
goes right over.
Graduation party, right? You're live on the speaker there?
You
got a daughter graduating from college today, and you're here doing the show. What's up
tomorrow?
with that?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I've been gone. I haven't done the show in 4 weeks. My wife said, take the day off. And I went, no, I just did that.
Because the party's today.
The party is today. The graduation is tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
To Victoria, too.
My daughter is, finally, after 5 years.
She did it before she's 30. That's good enough for me.
5 years.
Okay. And she's going to go be a teacher.
After transferring from a state institution to a private school at $40,000 a year.
Got it.
Yes. I'm now
unencumbered.
My last one.
Yeah.
My last one.
Yeah.
So, and she has a job.
Is she going to be a teacher down there?
She was hired. This is the greatest part of the story. We've lived in this town in Florida for 21, almost 21 years.
Yeah.
And Tori went to kindergarten at this school down the street. It's it used to be a K-12 school, and then it became a K-8 school. And so she went from kindergarten through 8th grade to this school. She will be teaching 4th grade at the school.
Wow.
The same school.
Yeah, good for her. That's great.
And working
and living in your basement.
No, she's got her own apartment.
She does.
She's got her own apartment. Yeah, that I've been paying
with
for.
a rent subsidy of some kind. I'm picking on her because the teachers make so little money. I mean,
but the good news is her rent, because she shares it with her boyfriend,
how much?
Is like $450 a month.
Oh, that's great. Don't move out here.
No, she's got $450 a month rent.
That's nothing wrong with that.
You
That's
know,
good.
I'm taking her off. The best part of all this is that I'm taking her off the health and the car insurance.
That alone. Wow.
Next year, she gets 100% paid health insurance from
next
school
year,
district.
like starting this fall?
Like starting in August.
Wow, that's terrific.
And
I can see the relief on your face.
Oh my gosh! Because you know what's it's not just us old people that drag up the cost of health insurance.
Yeah,
it's the women, young women of childbearing age.
Turns out that's kind of expensive. Yeah.
And what drags my car insurance premiums way up?
Yeah, well, let's not go there.
A child under 25.
That's what?
Children under 25.
Yeah, that's had a couple of little things.
Well,
or something.
one.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was more than one. My apologies.
No, she only had one accident.
Okay, that's not bad.
She spaced out and blew a red light.
That's okay.
But no, I mean, this is an exciting.
That's not
this
bad.
is an exciting moment for Dad because I'm looking at my bank account, going, "Wait a minute, look." I think the balance is going to rise now over the next few months.
Well, that's great. And send along my best wishes. That's terrific.
I will absolutely do that.
And I'm glad she's employed. I mean, that's phenomenal. She's graduating. She's already got a job. I mean, that's great.
Oh, man. And they were two different. She student taught in two schools in Orange County, Florida. And both of them offered her jobs. So she had 3 job offers before she even graduated.
Fantastic.
So she'll be a good teacher doing good things for America at a
She couldn't come to work for us because all my kids work for us. I mean, that's kind of
pitiful salary.
Yeah,
pitiful.
I know.
What we pay teachers in this country
is shockingly
deplorable.
low. I agree.
It is. $36,000 is the annual salary.
Woo.
Makes me mad.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
In addition to the Talking Real Money podcast, I also do another podcast that's very popular over at Apple Podcasts. It's called Money 30. Every day I try to educate and inform you about money in a brief 2 to 4 minute podcast. So check them out at Apple Podcasts or all the other podcast services or at money30.com.
Your guides to a really great financial future. Tom and Don are talking real money.
Not only are we the money education guys on the radio, but we're the money education guys almost everywhere else. We provide lots and lots of educational materials, many of them absolutely free. I mean, we have Real Investing Journal. That costs $25 for 2 years. That's the most expensive thing. But the risk quiz, available at vestory.com. Check it out. Lots of people already taken the risk quiz this afternoon. It's totally free. It's at vestory.com, vestory.com. Or if you need more information on Vestory, give us a call, 800-386-3004.
We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for educational and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. Providing personalized financial planning or investing advice takes time, so please consult with a really good fee-only fiduciary investment, tax, or legal advisor. We know a good one. Investing must always involve risk. In other words, you can and probably will lose money at times. Also, as much as you want it, no one can accurately, consistently predict the future. So past performance doesn't tell you a darn thing about what the future will bring. Unlike many other programs that say something similar, Talking Real Money is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Vestory, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Thanks for listening, and please visit talkingrealmoney.com for more information and disclosures. Are we done now?